Welcome, everybody. NHL playoffs are wide open. I'm talking today with Dana Lane, NHL analyst. Dana, good to have you back on with us. Let's get right into this slate where there's four very compelling games. Tampa Bay Lightning going to Detroit to take on the Red Wings. Now, Tampa Bay is leading this series 2-1. However, they got shut out at Detroit and were held to just 16 shots last time out. What's your breakdown on this game, and where do you think the edge lies?
I'll tell you, Mike, what we learned today that Peter Mrazek is going to start Game 3 for the Detroit Red Wings again, and that was quite a boost in Game 4. That was quite a boost for Detroit in Game 3. Obviously, a little bit better than what they got out of Jimmy Howard, but like you mentioned, Mike, I mean, the fact of the matter is they only allowed 16 shots, and this is a team. Keep in mind, when Stamkos out of the lineup, you're going to have nights where they're not as offensively efficient as they would be with Stamkos in the lineup. And I still think they have more team speed. I'm still not sold on the Detroit Red Wings defense. And I'm not ready to anoint Peter Mrazek as the savior of the series. You know, Ben Bishop has still played exceptionally well. His goals against is just a little over 2, and his save percentage is just over 93%. So he's playing exactly the way we would want, and we do like Tampa Bay to win this series. The top defensive pairings for Tampa Bay have played extremely well. Even Braden Colburn, who's down on the depth chart a little bit, has given them some offense. So I think Tampa Bay is in a good spot. I'm not worried about them losing on only 16 shots, but defense usually wins, and I think Tampa Bay is in a better situation. So what we're going to do, Mike, in this game is we're going to play Detroit and Tampa to go under the total at minus $1.05, and we're going to play Tampa in the first period at plus $1.05.
Wow, that's interesting. That's interesting. Let me ask you this, if I may, Dana. All right, Detroit, after giving up 8 goals in the first 2 games, what adjustments did they make to get that shutout and to really just, capitalize on the good defense?
Well, it was very simple. They put 3, sometimes 4 guys up at that blue line. And keep in mind, Mike, in the playoffs, it's very important to get out ahead. And if you do that, you see a lot of teams just protecting that blue line, daring teams to beat them, even get into the offensive zone. And what happens is when you're not able to do that, you eventually just have to play a dump and chase game, which Tampa Bay was left to do. Wasn't able to generate much offense from that. But again, in most of these series, the team, except last night in Dallas, Minnesota, the team that goes ahead early really has a huge advantage because they can really sit back in front of their solid goaltender.
Very, very well said. Dana, moving on to the second game, Pittsburgh going to take on the Rangers. Now, Pittsburgh, I think, is very disappointed that they didn't take both games at home. Rangers got that big win, and now the series is tied 1 apiece. How do you feel about this Pittsburgh team? Do they have some momentum that they can dig deep for as they go into the Garden to take on the Rangers?
Yeah, Mike, I mean, I still like Pittsburgh. They are extremely talented offensively. And I know this is going to be a series where I just feel like Lundqvist is going to have to stand on its head and win this series for them. I mean, we saw reports this morning that Ryan McDonough may get some ice time tonight. And again, we don't know how much effective ice time that's going to be. We saw Malkin come back in the last game, and he was pretty ineffective, even though he did get an assist. But the fact of the matter is this Penguin team is so deep, and we know that by seeing Mike Sullivan put Evgeny Malkin on the third line. You know, this is a world-class player, one of the best players in the world, and he's confident enough in his first 2 lines to put him on the third line. I think that makes them he's going to get better as the series goes on. I'd like him to stay at that third line, by the way. I don't like too many superstars on the first 2 line because I think that you get too many cooks in the kitchen, and we saw that with Phil Kessel early on in the season where he just did not play well with Crosby. He was much better on the line with Bonino, where he could put the puck on his stick the majority of the time and then not have to worry about giving it up to Crosby. So what we're going to do tonight, Mike, we're going to play Pittsburgh in the game at minus $1.09, which is a very generous line. But we're going to play the Rangers in the first period. And so the reasoning behind that is that I just feel like the momentum of playing at home, you're going to get the best effort out of the Rangers to start the game. But I think as the game evolves and as Malkin becomes more content and confident in his role, I think you'll see the Penguins in an offensive avalanche overtake the Rangers as the game goes on. So Rangers first period, Penguins for the goal.
Okay, now, my thinking here, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm wondering, what does Pittsburgh need to do to grab the mental edge back when they gave up the home ice advantage? So my thinking was they would come out firing on all cylinders against the Rangers early, both from frustration and knowing that they want to try to shut that crowd up quick as opposed to later. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the only thing for me is I can foresee it. Like what a lot of teams do when they get home is they start to play a physical game because not only are they excited about being home, it's the playoffs, but they also want to send a message for the rest of the game. And I foresee this being a low-scoring first period with the Rangers possibly getting that first goal. And at minus $1.02, I think it's worth a shot. If Lundqvist plays the way he did in the previous game, I feel extremely confident going with the Rangers in the first period. But as games go on, I mean, Mike, the way we handicap is every game is a story. And every story begins with the first period, and then you have the middle, and then the ending. So every period is different. And how do we perceive each team to come out? How do we perceive each team to make adjustments? And how do we perceive each team to end the game? So in our opinion, we think the Rangers are going to come out flying. We think they're going to play extremely well. But unfortunately, talent always rises to the top. And that's why we have the Penguins for the game and not the first period.
There you go. Well, I like the breakdown and always appreciate your insight. Now moving along, Dana, you got the St. Louis Blues taking on the Chicago Blackhawks, and that was a huge 3-2 win in Chi-Town to get the mental edge. They're now up 2-1 in the series, St. Louis is. What possibly can Chicago do early in this game to get back into it mentally and try to switch that momentum to their side?
Mike, I still like Chicago in this series, but I have to tell you, and this has been going on maybe even from the point that Andrew Ladd joined the team, there's just something off about Chicago. And when you have Kane and Taves and Hossa and Ladd who are still looking for their first goal in this series, I mean, collectively, they've had 48 shots in the series, so it's not like they're not making attempts or getting good looks at Brian Elliott, but there's still something off, that edge that Chicago usually has that catapults them in tough situations. And so one of these days, we're going to see some offense. I bet the under in all these. In the first 3 games, we pushed 2 of them and won 1 of them. But tonight, I think, is going to be the night where you're going to see the offensive firepower for both teams on display. And in Game 3, we kind of got a little bit of a taste of that because I felt like Game 3 was much more wide open than the first 2 games. And I think they're going to continue that pace tonight. Brian Elliott's been fantastic, but for Chicago, they must get their power play going. They can't be 2 of 12 on the power play and expect success. But I think you're going to see a much more wide open game tonight with those aforementioned players finding some success. So what we're going to do is we're going to go Chicago, St. Louis over the 5. You're getting plus money on that. And we're also going to take St. Louis in the first period. And you're also getting plus money, about 126 right now with that. So the idea is win 1 of 2 and take some money home.
Wow, interesting. I like the way you're looking for those ticket cashers, several of them in each game, when you can take advantage of a period and then as opposed to a side. Now, Chicago, again, Crawford's got to be ready. He has got to be ready. And my feeling, Dana, is also I think you're going to see a little bit more of an offensive explosion. I don't want to press the button of desperate, but Chicago knows they need this win at home. They got to gain that mental edge. And you couldn't have said it any better. What is going on with Chicago, and I can't put my finger on it, but they are not having that competitive, that tough edge that they usually have early in the playoffs and consistently in the playoffs. So I totally agree with that. Now, the last game on Slate tonight, Anaheim Ducks against Nashville. This is really, really interesting. Nashville went to Anaheim, took the two contests. Now they completely have an edge. Now, teams that have done that in the past tended to rest on their laurels, and it bit them in the ass. Do you see this Nashville team as maybe kind of resting a bit, thinking, okay, we got two there? Or are they coached well enough to where they catch the fire tonight and go into this game tonight like the series is 0-0?
Well, Peter Laviolette is one of the best coaches in the NHL, so coaching to me is not going to be the problem. What's extremely difficult for me to wrap my mind around is I want to go with the Ducks tonight because obviously a team of the caliber of the Ducks, even though I've had a hard time putting them in my top 10 all year, I still think they're better than Nashville, certainly better defensively, but the one thing that I've looked at the last 2 weeks and just said, wow, I think this Ducks team is kind of slow. And I saw that against Winnipeg a few weeks ago, and now we're seeing it against Nashville. And I don't think they're going to be able to match team speed. I think it's very important for them to get this first goal so they can play the type of game that they want to play. And to be honest with you, Mike, I think they've been a bit sloppy. I mean, you cannot allow 8 power play opportunities to Nashville, and this is one of the reasons why they're not dominating this series, is because even though each team has a power play goal apiece, it's the power plays allowed, and Anaheim uncharacteristically has allowed 8 power play opportunities as opposed to their 5. And that's where they're kind of losing the battle. And that's where you say, well, Anaheim doesn't have a lot of offense. No, that's true. But they're 23% on the power play on the year, and that's where they find their offense. They beat you in the battle of special teams, and then they beat you with defense. And that just has not been the case, and that's why they've struggled. So this is what we're going to do in this one. I think we're going to see a lot of goals tonight. We're going to go over the 5, minus $1.10. And we're also going to play, cross my fingers, I know we don't like to do that, Anaheim plus $1.01 because they have to win this game. If they don't win this game, this series is over. So I think you're going to get the best effort out of Anaheim, even though everybody in the world is betting the Ducks, which I don't like to be on that side.
Yeah, and I think Anaheim will be more than capable of locking down defensively very early on, and very, very good points about the power play. So I think they're going to leave it all on the ice, and it wouldn't surprise me if they came away with a win. Okay, viewers, you heard it. Dana Lane's got a lot of opinions and a lot of sides on this. Dana, if you can, before you leave, if you'll just review all of those plays in those 4 games for our viewers, I would appreciate that.
Absolutely. Tampa Bay, Detroit. We'll go under minus $1.05. We're playing Tampa Bay in the first period plus $1.05. And the Pittsburgh Ranger game, it will be Pittsburgh minus $1.09 for the game, but we're playing the Rangers minus $1.02 in the first period. St. Louis, Chicago to go over plus $1.05, and St. Louis in the first period plus $1.26. Get one of those, make some money. Anaheim, Nashville. 5 over the total minus $1.10, and Anaheim for the game plus $1.01.
Fantastic. Dana, thanks so much for your insight, for your breakdown, and that knowledge that'll help our viewers. Okay, viewers, also check out the articles on the Sports Picks page for NHL and get some of the articles that Dana writes, and he's got some really, really good facts in there that lead to ticket cashing, and that's most important. All right, Dana, good luck tonight, my friend, and I look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Always a pleasure, Mike. Thank you for your time.